relationship in the healthcare. So in this chapter, we will go through in more details, okay, what are the responsibility and what are the relationship in each of the stakeholder. Okay, not only involve the medical professional like doctor, we also will include some responsibility and some role of the researcher, okay, researcher, scientist, as well as the patient. Okay, patients itself also have some role, okay, to make sure they are compliant with the rule. So we will go through. So at the end of this lesson, so you make sure that you are able to discuss the relationship between the healthcare professional and the patient. So what is the relationship, and please make sure you can understand, okay, the right and the responsibility of each party, respective parties. So first of all, we will start with the models of the healthcare relationship. Okay, so we have 4 different concepts. So the first one, we will have the informative concept, and then we have the next one, we have the interpretive, deliberative, and the paternalistic. So we have 4 different terms. So in this subject, you will encounter not saying difficult. Okay, maybe you are first time encounter all these terms. So please try to understand the term and what is the meaning of this term involved in the medical ethics. So the first one, informatics model, is describing that the doctor has the responsibility to provide information, accurate information of knowledge to the patient. But the patients itself need to make the decision for their treatment choice. Okay. So next one, interpretive. Interpretive is doctor, in addition to provide information, doctor has the responsibility to provide analysis or interpreting. Okay, interpret what is the best choice or explaining the patient's values relevant to the available choice. So need to just not sharing information. The patient may not be understand what you are sharing, right? So you need to interpret and analyze what are the possible choice or what is the best option for the patient. So, and similarly, patients will need to make their own decision. So doctor only has the role to provide information and interpretation. So the last one, we have the deliberative. So the deliberative, in this situation, the doctor will provide more information and try to inform the patients which treatment or which option is most suitable. Okay, most suitable for the patients, even though the treatments or the options is not the patients wanted. Okay, they will consult them and to provide them what are the most suitable option or most recommended choice, suitable to recommend the choice. And similar, patients has to make their own decision. So the above 3 model, informative, interpretive, and the deliberative, is all just receive some information, some knowledge from the doctor, but patients to make their own choice. But lastly, we have the term which we already learned in the previous lesson, is the paternalistic. So the paternalistic is doctor is the one to make decision without the patients itself to make their own decision. So this one is usually we do not encourage. This practice is usually practiced in the previous time. So where we share the history, okay, with the ethics. So in this situation, paternalistic, sometimes it happens to parents as well. Okay, parents will decide what are the best options for their children. Okay, and regardless the willingness of the children. Okay, so this one is another term describe of the healthcare relationship. So the foundations in the healthcare professional-patients relationship is actually based on the trust. Okay, so any communication you deal between a doctor and a patient or a scientist with your participants that we recruited in your trial, okay, in your study, is actually based on the trust. Is very important. So why trust is very important? And in order to build your trust, so what you need to do? Okay, there are several principles you need to do in order to build your trusting, and later we will see what is the important. Why trust is so important, okay, in terms of the healthcare relationship and the research study. So in order to building the trust, you need to tell the truth, be faithful. Be faithful meanings be loyal, okay? Please make sure you behave in a manner that people respect you, okay? People respect you, and keep your promise and keep secrets. So keep promise, we can say that involve some privacy of some individual, and keep promise involve some confidentiality. So we will see each of these in more detail in the following slide. So actually, trusting a people, okay? So this one is a very common the trust. Trusting a people is actually taking some risk because you are not sure whether the person may feel to act according to their trust, right? So some people may fail to act ethically or professionally, so or competently or skillfully. You are not sure. You just trust him or her based on your own belief, right? Or based on the first impression to the doctor. So you are taking you are in the sense that taking some risk. So trusting someone means that you are vulnerable to him or her because he may not able, okay, to execute his promise or her promise to you. And usually, if you already violate your trust to a person, it is usually is hard to restore, right? Are you all going to trust the person again if he already break his promise or her promise? No, right? Maybe you will give him or her a second chance, maybe. But if he repeat again, okay, if he break again his promise, yes. Sorry? Yes, yes. Cannot hear? Because sometimes we have some internet problem. So as our previous experience, if we are doing some online class, they might have some disconnections of the internet. Is it okay? Now, can you hear? For those who attend the class online? As I see only one in the line, okay? So if you already, let's continue. So if you already, okay, experience someone that break his promise to you, so you are not able. It's very hard for you to restore, okay, trust from a person to you again. So there are several process that actually affecting will be affected by the building of the trust. So even in the research, not only the relationship between a doctor and a patient, but in your research process. So for example, when you do some recruitments of your participants in your research study, and when you try to obtain the informed consents from the participants. So actually all of this process is communicate based on the trust, right? So based on what you want to give the agreement that you agree to join the research study. So after you read the proposal, you trust, right? You trust the researcher that this study may bring some beneficial outcome to the patients or to the participants. So you need to make sure that all the process you are performing in justice, okay, in a fair manner, so that the participants can trust you. And also you need to make sure you are explaining the correct procedure or method. The more you explaining to them, the more they have confidence to you. Okay, the more they can build up their trust to you, And how are you going to analyze and interpreting your results? Sometimes some participants or some patients, they are interested, okay? They are interested in knowing what are the results in your research study. So they have the right to request the data from you, okay? After your study is completed or during, in the middle of your, they have their right to request. And then the way in protecting the biological sample and private information, okay? So how do you, they trust you to keep their information, okay, to keep their results and keep their medical record. So you have to make sure that you explain to them how you are going to keep them, how you going to store them, and etc. And how, please make sure that you report all the adverse effect and unanticipated problem. So unanticipated problems meaning that all unpredictable problems or all unexpected problems. So you need to make sure. So last time we already gone through a case like for involve some investigator conducting the Tuskegee syphilis study, right? In our previous, during our history of the ethics. So, and this one is actually created a very huge, big negative impact because the investigator or researcher have provide misleading information, wrong info. They give all the participants with all the wrong info and they do not provide the proper treatment. Remember the Tuskegee syphilis study? So this actually has built up loss of trust. Okay, so the participants or the individual has no longer trust the medical professional. Okay, and they have lost confidence to the healthcare and scientists due to this incident. That's why we say that this study has created a very big negative impact to the participants. And if you have a new study in a coming time, do you think that you will have participants to join your study? No more, right? Because they already lost of trust in professional healthcare, such as the doctor or the researcher or the scientist. So why building trust is important? Okay, so it is important to keep the reputations of the institutional or the hospital. So if you are breaking some rules and you are not work against the not trying to tell the truth, so you will have bad reputation, right? So anyone will dare to go to such hospital or institution again? No, right? That's why the research subject must need to able to trust the research institute or the medical hospital, okay, so that they are responsible for overseeing the investigator. So they have some regulations to make sure all the doctors, all the professional researchers, scientists to comply, okay, to make sure they are complies to the rules and make sure they are not doing any violations against the ethics. And then if you already lost the trust, the public distrust, okay, will actually cause some negative impacts in your study recruitment, as I mentioned. So if you want to recruit any more participants in your study, so no one will trust you. Okay, so it will continuously affecting your future study. So there are different several concepts. Last time we have already learned the four main concepts, four main principles in ethics. So in the relationships between the healthcare professional and patient, so example between the doctor and patient, so it is involve a different principle as well. Okay, it's involve a several 4 to 6 important principle. So the first one, we will have the consent. Okay, the first principle is the agreement. So you need to make sure that the patient agree in what you are doing, all the therapy or the surgical option provided to him or her. And then the fidelity is the faithfulness, the loyalty. Okay, please make sure you are showing some way or some attitudes that the patients can trust you, can respect you. So the next one, telling the truth, also known as the veracity. So telling the truth is important. So you need to make sure you tell all the risks of the surgical or all the treatment, even the pain, the suffering, okay, everything you have to make sure you have to inform. Okay, the patients will make decisions about for their treatment choice, but at your place, at the professional healthcare responsibility, you need to inform them. Okay, all the risks and all the disadvantage, all the painful and all the adverse effect. Okay, after the treatment. So respect for the patient, right? So similar, they have a lots of right. Okay, right to know all the treatment, the risk, the benefit, and they have the right, okay, to know what are the successful rate. Okay, and then the competency. The competency is make sure that you are qualified to handle the patient what you are handling, because the doctors, the patients may are actually under an area which is beyond the expertise of a doctor, right? So may the doctor have to make sure that if it is beyond his or her expertise, so he needs to refer to another professional, not saying that, oh, I just, this one I can handle the patient. Okay, not saying that I can handle the patients even though it is not within my expertise or it is not within the field of the study. So the last one is the compliance with the rules and regulations. So please make sure that you have obtained all the ethical approval and all the legal approval, okay, before you initiate any study. So the next one, so once the doctor have provided some medical service to the patient, okay, once the doctor has already prescribed or do some therapy medical service to you, so it is considered an initiating and healthcare relationship. Okay, it is considered already the starting of the relationship between your doctor and you. Once you already get their advice or once you already get some medical treatments or medical service. So there are several examples that the relationship initiating the healthcare relationship with the patients is not unethical. So here I have listed the two examples in which way the healthcare and patient healthcare relationships without the consent is unethical. So without any agreement, without any sign of informed consent, so everything is unethical. We are classified as the unethical. So the first one, so if you are a doctor providing a medical care to a patient without her knowledge, so during the surgery, let's say during the surgery, so the doctor found additional tumor or additional cancer tissue during the surgery. So does the doctor has the right to remove the additional tumor or additional cancer without the patient consent? Yes or no? During the surgery, the patient is in unconscious situation. You cannot get any agreement from the patient. No, right? No, you still cannot remove. Even though that one is bad things you want to exclude from the patient, you want to remove. But you still need to obtain the consent. In this case, you can obtain the consent from the guardians. Okay, either parents or your partner or your spouse. So another example, you are a researcher and you perform a research without his or her consent, and you taking the tissue in doing some extra work to establish a cell line, you do some extra gene editing on his or her cell or tissue without her consent. So this is also considered as an unethical activity, okay? Without any consent of the patient, so you are not allowed to perform any activities. So there are some exceptional. So not all the healthcare relationships without consent are unethical. There are several exceptional. So the first one, the doctor able to provide professional service during the emergency case. So if you are having an accident, let's say, okay, the doctor has the right to perform any emergency treatments to save your life without any of your consent, because the time is very limited. Impossible, the doctor is going to contact your parents, right? Your emergency contact, there is no way. So these are exceptional. And we have also, if the doctors are perform some treatments or activity under the order or under the court order, okay, in terms of law or endorsed by the local authorities. So if they have a special instruction for the doctor, okay, covered by the law or covered by the court, so the doctors or professional healthcare has the right to perform the healthcare relationship without any consent, without any agreement, meaning without any signed document. So the last one, the healthcare professional examine or checking the health of a patient in the context of an independent medical examination. So the meaning of this statement is usually it involves some third party. For example, you are working in a company and your company hire maybe a path lab or some healthcare institution to perform some healthcare medical examinations for all the employees. So this one is one of the instruction, right? Instructions of your company to instruct you to do the examination. So in this situation, the doctor do not need the agreement from you, because you are working under the company and the company require the healthcare examination to be performed or to be done. Okay? So next one, we will have parents' consent is the time for you all to do some decision. So we have a situation where 8 years old children, okay, C, is diagnosed with some leukemia and he need to require to do some bone marrow transplantation. Okay, so the child C dissents meaning disagree, have a strong disagreement with some opinion. Okay, disagree, but her parents is actually agree, consents the procedure. So if you were the doctor, what will you do? So should you follow the opinion, respect the autonomy of the children with 8 years old children, or you will respect the decisions of the parents to go ahead with the surgery? Anyone? Because sometimes we may need to take into the concern of the children as well. Okay, so why the children is disagree or unwilling to perform certain surgery? So which side are you going to agree? Which side are you going to side in this situation? Anyone is supporting the parents? Raising the hands. Parents, yes. Quite many of you, parents. Okay, agree with the parents. So how many of you agree with the child, the kids? Okay, so majority is agree with the parents, right? So what is the reason? Because the child is still 8 years old, right? So he may not understand. He may not have has the capability to interpret, to make the decision. And he may not understand what is the risk if he not performing this surgery. Okay, he may not get fully understand on what are the risks or disadvantage if he do not perform this surgery. So in this situation, the doctor can neglect, okay, can follow the instructions of the parents, where because the kids may just simply scared of some surgery or scared of some anxiety due to some painful, okay, due after the surgery. So just now I have already mentioned there are few principles that involve in the professional healthcare relationship. The first one we are going to look into is the fidelity. Okay, So the fidelity means for the faithfulness, the loyal, or the supportive. So always the doctor, you need to put your patient interest above oneself, not your own interest. You need to think good for your patient, or think what are the best options for your participants or your patient. Okay, so this is known as the fidelity. You need to think what is the priority, not thinking for yourself first. Although the treatment, you are familiar with the surgical treatment, you are very confident, but is that surgical or the procedure is the best suit for the patient? No, right? So you have to think on the good side. Okay, think the patient's interest. Okay, what patients want, you have to take care of their interest. So the next one, we will have the professional, a doctor will have to favor the patient's interest. Okay, try to think what the patient wanted over the third party. So the third party here, meaning some drug pharmaceutical company. Okay, so the pharmaceutical company may be a friend of you. So you are very supportive to your friend, but that drug may not be the best option to the patient, right? Or the third party may be the insurance company. Okay, so you need to make sure that, these operations may not be covered by the respective insurance or policy. Okay, so you change the treatment so that it is covered. So all these are unethical. So you need to make the decision, thinks of what is the best, do good thing to the patients, and make sure it is compliant to the patient's interest. It is what requested by the patient. Then the last one, the professional disclose the conflict of interest. So we will look into more for this one. Conflict of interest is meaning a situation that make you do some biased decision or misconduct. Okay, so it can be many aspects, financial, some benefit or some advantages that make you unable to judge, okay, fairly, or make you to misconduct some activity. So conflict of interest is the financial or other interest. It can be financial, okay, some advantage, some benefit given to you, or some other interest which is likely affect a person tendency to fulfill his professional obligation. So it will have some misconductivity due to the conflict of interest. That's why you have to declare. Okay, the doctors or some researcher always have to declare. So we do not have any conflicts of interest in this study. We do not receive any benefit, or we do not receive any advantage, okay, from this study. So these conflicts of interest will increase the risk of the bias. So maybe a certain company will provide you some benefit, okay, so that could make you to do some biased decision or misconduct. Okay, you do some wrong thing or wrong decision due to the benefit, okay, due to the advantage. So this is all including all non-compliance activity in service and research. So the next one, there are different types of conflicts of interest in healthcare relationship. It can be financial, such as your research is funded by a commercial pharmaceutical company. They have a lots of grant to support your research or to support your treatment. So you will have make some biased decisions, okay, upon considering, if I do not provide these treatments to my patient, maybe they will not support, they will not continue provide their continuous funding to my hospital or to my company, okay, or professional. So professional project members should not participate in own research. Similar to some contest or test. So some family members or some project members are not allowed to participate because we want to make sure that everything's are performed in a fair manner without any bias, discrimination, or any prejudice. Okay, we want to make sure everything is in a fair manner and personal. So do not influence by your relative or friends. Okay, maybe you know someone in the company, you want to give the business to him or her. And political, so involvement. If the study is involve some politician or some well-known people, okay, so please be fair and make sure you declare. No, do not have any conflicts of interest that may results in the bias in reporting, in the bias in the report. So the next one, anyone need a break? Okay, so a few minutes break, 5 minutes break from now before we continue to the next one. Okay, telling the truth.
瑞景，我先去那个 Switch 买给你。我去 Switch 买那个插头给你，你去 Switch 买送那个给我。high five。在你。Jackson Wang。
那很搞笑。很搞笑。
你以为？谢谢你。我看一下几集是。25th September， 我去买那个 dog whistle， 那个铁的，你普通人听不到的，你吹的只有狗听到吧？我现在就 order， 而且 order for little。哎，跟你那个谁一样？鸡应该什么颜色？pink color 啊，子怡。子怡。OK。我买10个给你。 買10個奶丟哈。你不是就是喜欢睡不醒的咩？哎，像你那个谁啊？是。没可以给你喝。错一个。我先这样说。谢谢你。按进去，你可以哦。这样吧。
Okay, shall we continue? Is everyone back from the break? Okay, so next one, we have already covered the fidelity. So the next one is the truth telling. Another term for the truth telling is the veracity. Okay, so sometimes in the exam question, you may see the terms veracity instead of the truth telling. So you need to make sure you understand. So based on the previous 1961, based on a survey of all the surgeons or physicians in the Chicago, so they found that 90% of the doctors or physicians are actually withheld some information about the cancer diagnosis from their patient. Okay, so what is the reason? What is the reason you think that they want to hold the news, hold the information, hold the diagnosis information from the patient? What is this?
Reduces panic.
Reduce?
Panic.
Reduce panic, yes, or may reduce harm, right? So most of the time they feel that the patients may unacceptable to all the bad news. They just want to share the good news, but they not willing, they do not share the bad news because they worry. Okay, the patients have some will have some harm mentally or physically. So patients actually deserve the right. Okay, actually the way if your doctor is hiding the real information from the patients is actually unethical because they already break or violates the rules of the truth telling. They are already against the principles of the truth telling. So the patients actually deserve the right to know their status, their situation, or their diagnosis, or their potential outcome. Even though very straightforward, or very honest information may create some physical or mentally harm to the patient. No matter how, you need to inform. Okay, you need to inform the patients their situation or their real diagnosis instead of trying to care their patient. You are doing something good to the patient. You are caring their feeling, right? You are caring. Try to reduce harm to them. But actually, if you are hiding from them, if you do not tell the truth to them, actually you may also create some harm. Okay, in this situation, it is advisable to tell them the truth. So we have another situation here. So this situation is termed as request to lie. So you are not willing to lie, but your family. Okay, so an 80 years old female patient B is actually diagnosed with an end-stage cancer. And usually this case will happen where the patient is diagnosed with some end-stage, okay, end-stage malignant tumor or cancer. So his family requests the doctor, okay, where imagine you are the doctor, so the family requests you to deceive the patient B and let her enjoy her remaining life. So to avoid any harm, mentally harm or physical harm to the patient. So if you were the doctor, what will you do? Are you agree to deceive? So meaning that are you agree to hide from the patients, or you still, even though the family already requests you that do not inform the patient, but you are still going to tell the truth to the patient? Anyone telling the truth? Raise hand, telling the truth, or still continue to hide from the patient? Anyone? As I mentioned, always there are not an exact answer. Okay, so if you're able to justify, or if you're able to give your proper reasoning why you want to do that, you really think for the patient, you are okay, right? Because you are able to justify. Okay, so in this situation, if I am the doctor, I will choose to actually tell the truth, but in a way that telling them in not very straightforward. Okay, there is always some way to tell the patients with some wisdom. Do not share all the bad news at straight one go. Okay, you can tell something and tell them the worst effect. Okay, based on some skill. Okay, the healthcare professional will know the skill. I'm not very sure because I'm not the doctor, but there is some way to inform. But in this way, it is better to inform the patients because the patients can have their proper planning, because the way of her for enjoying her remaining life may differ, right? Like after you telling her the truth and before you, if you try to hiding from her the truth. Okay, so the patients has the right to know the truth, and they can have their own planning and own profit, okay, after knowing the real situation. So before you telling the truth to the patient, so you need to wait first, okay, balance first, weigh the benefit against the harm before disclosing the whole absolute truth. Okay, as I mentioned, you can tell the truth in pieces over time to avoid overwhelming. Please do not expose all the bad things at one go, because you have to think for the mentally harm of the patients where they cannot accept all the bad news at one go. And so maybe try slowly, okay, slowly disclose all the bad news pieces over the time. And sometimes if you already start, it is not wrong if you want to hide upon the request from the family, but you will need more time to cover a lie. Okay, you will need to more cover, if you need more energy, more effort to cover a lie, and you may lose in your personal integrity. So imagine if someone already know that you perform this unethical activity, or you already, even though you are think for the good of the patient, So it may affect, okay, the trust, right? The confidence of your other patient to you or your other participants to you. If they found out that you are not telling the truth, you may be hiding something. Or if you recruited in a research study, so they found out, oh, this researcher or this scientist already have a previous record that he or she is hiding some information from the participants or patient. So are you still there to recruit, join their research study? No, right? You will lost confidence and lost your trust. So next one. So you have your responsibility. Now we will go into your responsibility of different stakeholder. So first we will go into the responsibility of the research scientist. Okay. So for the responsibility of the healthcare research scientist, so the first thing you need to do is apply for the ethical approval. Before you start anything, you must obtain a proper ethical approval from the community or institutional review board, okay, based on your proposal. So you need to make sure all the protocol, all the procedure you have performed are compliant to the ethics approval. Next one, make sure your study design is scientifically sound. Plan your study well. Make sure you do not induce any unnecessary harm based on the principles of the mild beneficial. And then next one, perform study procedure competently. Okay, make sure that the procedure you perform, all the procedure or any treatments you are given to the patients or to your participants are actually within your field of expertise. Okay, make sure that you are able to handle. Please do not think that you are able to handle just attending some short course or some fast course. Please really make sure, because this is one responsibility of you to your patient. Okay, you need to be responsible. Next one, collecting accurate data. Make sure you are collecting accurate data, and of course, in this aspect, you need the cooperations from your patient as well, right? That's why later we will see what is the responsibility of a participant or a patient. If they are not following the rules, are you able to collect accurate data? No, right? So this one usually is a mutual communication. You need to make sure, if you are as a patient or participant, you promise, you are agree to join the research or any clinical trial. So please make sure you are compliant. Okay, compliance to the rules and the regulation, so that the scientists were able to obtain accurate data from you. So lastly, honestly reporting any results or adverse effect. This one usually we will have lots of problems against certain scientists. Okay, to be honest, because usually they will feel that the adverse effect is just a minor case. Okay, it's not necessary to report or not necessary to inform. So if you have experience to encounter some clinical study or clinical paper, so you will see that even though from groups of participants, among a groups of the participants, even two of the participants experience some adverse effect, such as bloating, okay, bloating or gastrointestinal problem. Although from only a minor population, you have to report. Okay, you will see in the paper or in any clinical trial paper, they will report even though there are only one participants or even two participants having experience with that adverse effect. So you have to report honestly, reports all the result, okay, without hiding. So next one, we have to describe the benefit and the risk. Okay, inform all the benefit, all the disadvantage, or all the risk of the research honestly. Okay, to the participants, and make sure they understand and they are volunteer after they know all the risks. Okay, and avoid bias in discussing, in favor enrollment if the benefits are minor but the risks are significant. Sometimes the scientist has the way to just emphasize on the benefit. Okay, they will tell you all kinds of benefit, but they will neglect to inform, okay, to emphasize on the risk. So please make sure that you do not have any bias. Okay, you need to make sure that what are the risks or what are the danger or what are the pain, what are the suffering they will experience after the in the study. And you need to provide extra be cautious in provide extra care. Okay, so provide extra care is correct, is the right thing. Okay, do good things right is under the beneficence. So but you need to make sure that you are provide care to all the participants, not only certain populations of participants. Okay, you need to make sure that you are doing in a way of just fair. Okay, according to the principle of justice. Okay, justice. So next one, protect the patient data from leaking and release the results to the patients where appropriate. So this one we will involve some privacy and confidentiality. Okay, explain to them, make sure that you are protect. Okay, be responsible with the patient's data and private information. We will look into more details in terms of this aspect. Okay, in the next slide. And next one, the last one, we have informed the patients on their right in the participants. So they have a lot of right in terms after they have recruited in your study. Okay, for example, they have the right to quit. If you feel like you want to stop from this research study, you have the right to stop, or you have the right to terminate. Okay, so we will see more example. So I have listed like some example of what are the right of the patients or participants in a research or even in some medical service. Okay, so you have the right to opt out from any study anytime if you want to quit or you want to withdraw. So if you withdraw, you will still receive some continuous care and treatment without any influence of your withdrawal. Okay, without your bias. So the patients has the right to request for study information. As I say, you have the right to request if you want to, you are interested to know the result, okay, the outcome, and right to know their right. So you have the right to ask any question, and you have the right to ask for explanation until you are fully understand. Okay, please ask before you sign the consent. Please make sure you are fully understand and your patient or participants is understand. They has the capability to understand. Okay, what you have mentioned to them, what are the benefits and what are the risks to them, and then they have the right to have, if they have special need address. So if they need special explanation or they need further emphasize, okay, they have the right to ask anything, and they have the right to timely respond to the care need. So you need to respond to them if they need care or if they have any concern. Okay, if they have the right. So they have the right to dignity and respect. You need to respect them, respect their decision. Okay, be respectful based on your behavior and attitude. Okay, and then next one, right to the informed consent. They have the right, okay, to provide sufficient time to think, okay, to consider before they sign their informed consents, and they have the right, as I mentioned, privacy and the confidentiality. They have the right to know how you're going to store their data, who are you going to share their information. Okay, so not simply share their information and privacy, and then they have the right to receive compassionate care even though they already terminate, and they have the right to know their third-party relationship. So the third-party relationship here is meaning they have the right to know your funder, okay? They have the right to know your institute, or they have the right to know what are the who is your collaborator or partner of hospital or medical institution. They have the right to know, because all this is for them to build up their trust, right? So if you are partner with a hospital, with a bad reputation. So this may influence their decision, right? So this may actually they have the right to know all the informations before they make their decision. Okay, so next one, still a lot. So they have the right to question about the healthcare, and they have the right to make their own decisions, and they have their right to obtain their medical records. Okay, you have the right to obtain, and they have the right to consult second opinion. Not saying that they are not respect the current doctor or professional healthcare, but they can actually request for second opinion, okay, from another doctor, and they have the right to continuity of care, even though they have some disagree. They do not, okay, they want to change doctor, let's say, they want to terminate the professional service from a certain doctor, even though they request for change of the doctor, but they are still in the same medical institutional right. So they have the right to provide continuity of the care. So even though they say that, oh, I'm not satisfied with this doctor, so doesn't mean that you have prejudice to this patient and provide him or her with a bad care. Okay, they have the right. And the next one, we will go into the privacy. Okay, so for your information, privacy is different from the confidentiality. Okay, there are two different things. So the privacy is actually a condition where you limit the access. Okay, the privacy meaning you want to limit the access of some informations to a person. Okay, you want to work in a privacy environment, or you want to you want to keep your weight or keep your age as privacy, meaning that you don't want to disclose your information. You want to keep your information, okay, from a person. So the first types of the privacy is informational privacy, as I mentioned. So most of you don't want to know, right? Don't want to disclose your age, right? Or don't want to disclose your weight. Okay, so this one is considered one of the privacy. You don't want to share, disclose to the other person. Okay, so informational, so some certain sensitive information you want to keep, okay, about oneself. You don't want prevent the disclosure of some sensitive information. Is there any example of the sensitive information here in addition to the age and weight? So what other information you feel that is sensitive? Marriage status? Yes or no? Or some disease, maybe disease, HIV disease. So that one is considered as one privacy, right? You don't want to, do not simply disclose some disease condition, okay, to other people. So the next one is the physical privacy. So it's describing that you need a private situation, you need a private space. So do not share all the private information in a public space, okay? So do not share, wait, she or her got this type of disease in a public space. So if you want to discuss some private information, please make sure that you are disclosing within a small population, okay? All those people are involved in the study, okay? Not sharing against the public. And then we have the decisional privacy. So do not ask any question after the patient has already made some decision, because the patients may have their own personal reason. We have their own personal privacy. Why I want to quit from this study? Why I want to reject the treatment? Why I want to change the doctor? So this is the decisional privacy. Okay, please ask only something concerned about involved in the study. So proprietary privacy is to not expose, okay, patient image or any info or share any biological materials without consent. So So this one is categorized under the proprietary privacy. So do not simply share my photo or the patient's photo, okay, or image to the public. The last one, we have the relational privacy. So the relational privacy is the family, okay. The family or relative may influence, okay, your decisions in any treatments or choice. So maybe you want to keep the informations from your family or keep the informations from your relative. So it's categorized under the relational privacy. So these categories sometimes will be categorized into the physical privacy as well, okay? Because this will only involve some necessary parties, necessary individual, not sharing into the public. So in another way, for confidentiality, so it is different, as I mentioned, it is different from privacy. For confidentiality, it is about redisclosure. You already know something, some private information, but you need to keep it as a secret. How well you are keeping some information among yourself instead of sharing against the different third party. Okay, this is the confidentiality. So you need to make sure that you are not simply redisclose. You already know some privacy of a person, but do not simply redisclose the informations to other people. So this is termed as the confidentiality. So a person or an institute would already have some information. So we already have all the information of the patient. So you need to make sure you're able to store all the information well, right? Need to make sure the informations are stored in a proper way to maintain its confidentiality. Not simply in a desktop that can access by all the public, even all the worker. Only those involved in the research study, only those scientists or collaborator has their name in the ethics approval, or has the ability to access, okay, all the confidential information. So do not simply disclose to the other party and provide the research subject with the informations on how you are going to protect. Okay, usually the data will be encrypted. Encrypted meaning you are storing the informations with a certain password or keywords, not easily accessed by the public. You will lock the folder, you will lock the file with a keyword, okay? And the identify data meaning, so the identify data meaning that you will try to remove the identity, okay? Identity do not include all the name, all the age and all the private information in the desktop, okay? So you will de-identify, okay? Just include all the necessary information. And patients should be informed on how sharing of the data and publications of the data are done. How are you going to share? Okay, you have to mention, give them confidence that you are just sharing within your collaborator. And if you want to publish the result, so no any identity information will be included, okay, in the result, in the paper or in the publication. So if you came across with the publication, you see any name in the publication, any name of the participant? No, right? So you, at least the most they will provide you the gender, okay, the gender male or female, or the age. So mostly we will focus on the history, okay, the medical history of the patient, or some infections history. Has this patient is being infected with dengue in the past, for example, okay? So we only will include all those necessary informations without the identity information. So next one, do you think that doctor has the right not to give the treatments to the patient? Yes, under what condition? Okay, do the doctor has the right not to give treatments to the patient? Yes or no? Okay, based on what we have gone through in the lecture, so do you think doctor has the right? Not only patient has the right to refuse, right? Doctor actually has the right to refuse as well. So in this situation, the answer is yes. Not only the doctor has to care for the patient, the doctor have to provide all the medical service, but doctor has the situation, has the right to not to give the treatment. In which condition doctor has the right to provide, to not to give treatments to the patient. So if the doctor feel that the treatment is beyond the need of the patient, okay, so the patients request some treatment, but the doctor feel that the treatment is not needed by the patient, so the doctor has the right to refuse the treatments to the patient. In another situation, if the treatments provided to the patients is beyond the doctor expertise, okay, the treatments is beyond the doctor expertise or beyond the field of the study of the doctor, so the doctor has the right, okay, to terminate, okay, to not to give any treatments to the patient. And in the last example, if you have very limited resources, for example, during the COVID pandemic, you need a lot of ventilation support, right? So you have very limited ventilation support, and who are you? Which patients are you going to give among a big population? So in this situation, the doctor has the right to decide who is the patients having the most critical, or most who is the patients needed, okay, the ventilations at the most. So doctor has certain right to decide, okay, even either they want to give the treatments to a certain population, to the younger or to the one likely to survive, or not to give any treatments. So we have that. Next one is does the doctor has the right to terminate the healthcare relationship with a patient? Yes or no? Does the doctor has the right to stop? Patient has the right to change the doctor, right? As we already gone through. Patient has the right to change. I'm not really confident with this doctor, I want to change. Okay? But does doctor has the right to terminate the healthcare relationship? If yes, how to go about this? And involve which of the right? The patients involve which of the right? Okay, so the answer is yes. Okay, the doctor has the right to terminate the healthcare relationship with a patient. As I mentioned, if the patient is the treatment is beyond his expertise, right? He can actually say that, oh, I'm not able to perform this treatment, but I will recommend you provide sufficient time to the patients to look for a better, okay, to look for a better medical professionalist to continue his or her treatment. Okay, so the next one we will have the you can even transfer the patient to another doctor who has the expertise in this field. So even though the doctor already terminate, okay, the relationship with you, so the patient, do not forget, please take note that the patient still has the right to receive continuous care. Okay, remember we already said in the previous, so the patient still has the right to receive continuous care even though the doctor has already terminated. Okay, even though you change a doctor, you still can receive your continuous treatment and continuous care from the patient, from the doctor. So we have the last one, the question regarding whether you want to share the how well you are going to keep the secrets in terms of the confidentiality. Okay, so you are interviewing a psychiatric patient, Mr. X, so you know that the patient has some mental problem, okay, some psychiatric problem, and he told you that he is going to kill Mr. Y after your study. So he is going to harm a person after your study. So considering in the aspect of confidentiality, so should you report to the third party? Okay? In terms of the confidentiality between you and your patient, you are a doctor, you are interviewing a patient. So should you disclose these confidential informations to the third party? Remember, the confidentiality is do not simply disclose some informations to the third party, right? So, in these situations, what are you going to do? Are you going to disclose, to tell the authorities person, or you just will keep quiet, keep the secret very well among yourself? Yes, so you should disclose. Okay, you should disclose. What is the reason you need to disclose? What is the reason? Because it will create harm, right? Yeah, it will create harm. It already violates the principle of the mild beneficial. Do not do harm. So you can keep the secret if it do not cause any harm to other people. But if in this situation it is going to create risk and harm to the another person, so you should not keep the promise. Okay, should not keep the secret. So the last one, we have the responsibility of patient in the service and research. So we already gone through what are the responsibility for scientists and the medical professional. So in terms of the patient, so as I mentioned, so patient do also have their own responsibility. So what are your responsibility? So if you are patients or participants, so please make sure that you understand. Don't pretend you understand. Okay? Please make sure you really understand the research procedure. We understand all the risks before you give any consent. This one is your responsibility. Okay? You have to make sure that you perform your responsibility well, but make sure you really understand. If you don't understand, try to question. You have the right to question, right? You have the right to ask until you are fully understand. Next one, adhere to all the appointments and research procedure. So if you already agree to join in a research study, or if you agree to receive this therapy or medical service, please listen to the instruction. Okay? Please adhere to the appointment and the research procedure. And maintain good medicational record. So please make sure when they ask you to do a follow-up, you do a follow-up. Okay? Maintain a good medication record. Please do not simply consume any other drugs which are not prescribed by the doctor or against the rules. Okay, compliant. Like if you are participating in a study, so please do not simply take any other drugs that may affect the results of the study. So if you feel you want to quit, this one is also your responsibility. If you feel you want to withdraw, please don't just disappear. Okay? So please make sure that you are politely informed, the person in charge, and inform them in a polite, in a better way, better manner, that you want to quit from the study, you don't want to, you want to withdraw, that you want to withdraw from the study. Okay, last slide. So last slide. Okay, so this one, please make sure that you provide correct medical history. Okay, telling the truth. Okay, also is a responsibility for a patient. You need to tell, not hiding any medical history. Okay, because usually you will be subjected to a series of the question. Okay, just telling the truth and what are the medical history. If you have allergy, please tell them you have any drug allergic to the doctor. Avoid knowing spreading of disease. So if you are participates in certain infectious disease study, so if the doctor requests you not to like have a close contact with any other participants. Please be responsible. Okay, please be responsible not to simply get contact with the other to other individual. Okay, please be responsible, knowing that you have a risk to transmit like certain flu virus or certain respiratory virus. And then next one, show respect for other patients and health worker. Okay, as a patient, although they have the responsibility to take care of you, to provide you a continuity of the care, and then give you some concern. Okay, please be good, respect to the doctor and respect to the health worker. And last one, we have the reports of all wrongdoing to the appropriate resources or legal authorities. So wrongdoing is actually something you are not allowed to do. For example, the doctor request you to do some fasting. Okay, so if you are accidentally actually miss the fasting period, please tell them, report. Okay, report the wrongdoing and to appropriate authorities. Okay, do not hide, just tell the truth. And make sure, lastly, make sure you comply with all the rules and regulations after you already give the consent. Okay, so if you are not really interested to participate, you have the right to not giving the consent. Okay, so if you already give the consent, meaning you understand all the advantage and understand all the adverse effects and understand all the risks, right? So you have to be responsible on all the activity and make sure you are able to comply to all the rules and regulations. If you feel that you are not a person to follow the rules, then you are okay to not to sign, not to give the consent, not to participate. So if you express that no, I'm not interested to join, but you will still receive some continuous care, okay, continuous treatment. It will not affect any medical therapy or any treatment, okay, any care from the healthcare worker. But once you already consent, so please responsible and please follow the rules, and so that the scientist is able to obtain all the accurate results. Okay, so this one is the responsibility of the patient. So that's all for today. Any more question? Any question before we end our class? So in this afternoon, we will be having our first tutorial class, okay, for the group 2. For those who enroll the tutorial class in group 2, please attend the tutorial class today. Right, today, right? Today is week 4, right? Okay, please attend the tutorial class as according to timetable. So for your information, we will have another 2 tutorial class. Okay, from Thursday, I already checked with the admin. There are no mistakes in the time. So another tutorial class in Thursday is 1 to 2, and the other tutorial class